Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Tabitha Gabrielle, and today I am going to be doing the Carol of the Books book tag. I am once again filming outside. However, it is a different location than I usually film in because for some reason it rained recently, and when it rains we can hear the interstate really loud, and the interstate's a few miles away from the back of our house. I don't know. So anyway, you can hear it less on the front. However, there's a car going by now in the front, so there's just going to be some weird noises, okay? So yeah, just bear with me through that, if you would, please. This video was originally created by Holly with Lovely Day with Holly, so thank you so much, Holly, for creating this, coming up with this great idea. I was reading through the prompts and I was like, this is so cute. Like, I'm so excited for this, honestly. I was up till 2 a.m. last night picking out these books from my shelves. So, yeah. And thank you so much, Rachel from Rachel Reads, for tagging me in this video. This is so fun, and I'm so excited to be tagged. It was very, very sweet of her to think of tagging me, so thank you so much again, Rachel, and thank you to Holly. And without further ado, let's get into the prompts. If you see me looking over here to the side at all, it's because I've got my notebook here, and again, I did this at 2 a.m. last night, so yeah. So the very first prompt is, it came upon a midnight clear, a nighttime scene on the cover. And for this prompt, I am choosing When Christmas Comes by Andrew Klavan. I've read a few other books by Andrew Klavan, and I do like his writing. He is really good at writing really annoying characters, if that makes sense. I chose another book of his, like further on down the list, to fit a prompt. You'll see what I mean when I talk about that one. Like, his characters are very well developed, but they're very easy to find annoying, especially his female characters. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, for fitting this first prompt, a nighttime scene on the cover, it's perfect. So the second prompt is O Little Town of Bethlehem. And this is a story that takes place in a small town. For this one, I chose Bridge to Haven by Francine Rivers. If you're familiar with Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers, this is a very similar concept in that the main character is really struggling to find herself, and the story is just kind of centered around all of the struggles that she sends herself through as she discovers herself. And I rated it 4 stars. It was really good. The small town vibes are definitely there. I didn't enjoy it as much as some of the other books I've read by Francine Rivers, but it was definitely good. Prompt number 3 is Joy to the World, a book that takes place in a global setting. So for this, I actually have 2. The first one that I'm going to talk about is The Paper Girl of Paris. It obviously partially takes place in Paris, which is a global setting. Yay. It's a dual timeline, dual POV type of situation where this girl goes over to Paris and discovers that one of her family members has, left all this secret history behind, and she's kind of uncovering it. And then in the other POV, you're seeing like the family member living her life at the same age as the main character, if that makes sense. You know what I mean. The second one that I chose for this prompt is How the Penguins Saved Veronica. This is not Christian fiction, but it is so flipping cute. Like, so flipping cute. If you love penguins, you'll love this book. I can guarantee it. This story surrounds Miss Veronica McCready, who lives in Scotland, I believe, and then she ends up traveling to Antarctica. But I'm not going to tell you why, because that'll spoil the whole thing. She travels to Antarctica as like an 80-year-old millionaire, basically. And yeah, it's very chaotic at times, but it's very fun. So I really liked it, and I would recommend it. And it fits this prompt perfectly because she's in a global setting and she also travels. So yes. Prompt number 4 is Silent Night, an element of silence in the book somewhere. Yeah, I really struggled with this one last night, just looking over my bookshelf and scanning through my Goodreads read tab, like trying to find a book that would fit this prompt. And I was really struggling. So I don't know if this is cheating. If it is, no it isn't. But yeah, for this prompt I chose From the Mouths of Sirens, and my logic behind this is that this is a Little Mermaid retelling. Yeah? And you know how like in The Little Mermaid, like she loses her voice. So there's an element of silence. The character in this does not lose her voice though, so that's where I'm kind of like, I'm kind of cheating. but it's a Little Mermaid retelling. So it made me think of that. The book itself doesn't have an element of silence in it, but it made me think of a story that does. Logic. Yeah, this is a book that I read a couple years ago, and like I said, it is a Little Mermaid retelling, and it's also got an element of like a games factor, trials factor to it. I found it really interesting when I read it a couple years ago. The author like self-published it. She designed the cover and everything, so we love a talented queen. Amazing for her. I love that. So prompt number 5 is I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus, a married couple main character. I kind of struggled again with this one because, yeah, I did. I don't know. I don't know if it's a spoiler to tell you this, but Dance of Thieves and Vow of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. I'm not going to tell you who the characters marry, but they do get married, and that is an element of the story in book 2, Vow of Thieves. But it's also like a secret, so you didn't hear that from me. And also, if you have not read Vow of Thieves, you might not know that. So, yeah. But I didn't tell you who they married, so you can probably figure it out, but I didn't tell you. You didn't hear that from me. So prompt number 6 is Away in a Manger, a book set on a farm or including farm animals. You would think that me living on a farm, I would have easily had a book at the ready for this. I did not. I was trying to find any book that would apply to this that made sense, and I couldn't. I don't read any Amish fiction, so I feel like if I had read even one Amish book, that would have applied for this, but I don't like those, so I have not read any of those. The best thing that I could find is also a book that I have not read yet, but I have watched the little 4-episode mini-series thing on Netflix, and that is Watership Down. Rabbits. They're farm animals. Yeah? Technically, the rabbits in this are wild, but in the show anyway, there are like farm rabbits too. So I do plan on reading this eventually. I just have not gotten around to it yet. But Watership Down, if it's anything like the Netflix show, is basically rabbit politics. It's rabbits running around doing their little rabbity things, but there's like politics involved, and I love that. And it's actually got a lot of sad moments. So be prepared for that. It's not all cute, fluffy bunnies. Like I said, it's politics. So you know there's going to be like some blood drawn here and there. Some people might die. There might be a war.
My name is Woundwort. General Woundwort.
That's the biggest rabbit I've ever seen. You have fought so hard to earn your freedom. But now, you must fight to keep it.
Call me crazy, but I really loved it. Prompt number 7 is I'll Be Home for Christmas, which is a story about a character who is trying to get home. And for this one, I chose Another Kingdom by Andrew Klavan. This is the first book in a trilogy that I read a couple years ago. It was recommended to me by my boyfriend. He really loved this series, and so I read it because he liked it. This author does not do well with female characters. They're so 2D and flat, and I hate his female characters. And I'm not gonna lie, the main character in this, I hated him at the beginning too. He was such a despicable character. I hated him. I was like talking to my boyfriend and I was like, how do you like this? And he was like, just wait, there's character development that happens. And it takes like 3 books, but yeah, the character does develop. I can give that to him. It takes him some time. But you know what? It takes all of us some time to develop our character. So, whatever. The main character in this, Alex, I believe is his name. Let me double check. Austin. Oopsies. So yeah, Austin is the main character in this series. And yeah, he is like this failing author in Hollywood, this failing journalist type of guy in Hollywood. And he ends up stumbling into another world. Literally stumbling, if I remember right. into this other kingdom where people think that he's like come to save them, kind of like a Narnia vibe, like where everybody there thinks that he's come to like save them from this evil power that's over their kingdom. I remember really liking the character Maud. It's like a little mouse girl. I liked her. She was my favorite character. That was like the best female character that this author could do. Okay, let me stop flaming his female characters. I really hated them though. I'm gonna tell you, no, that is no. This one has a really weird scene in it. I'm gonna tell you now. It's got a really weird scene in it. And I was like, that's odd. I did not want to know that. Yeah. So just be aware of that. It is fun. I do like the second book in the series best. I believe it's called The Nightmare Feast. This one's okay. If I were to give it a star rating, I would probably say like 3.5. Somewhere in that range. There is development. It just takes some time. Maybe he's just far too realistic, and that's what drove me crazy, because these characters in here are very realistic, but a little bit too realistic. It was not enough of an escape. Like, I feel like I know people like this in real life, and I don't like that. So prompt number 8 is We Three Kings, featuring a trio of main characters. And for this one, I chose A Voice in the Wind by Francine Rivers. This book was so good. I read it back in the summertime, and I loved it. I really need to read the second and third one in the series, just because I want to find out what happens with the characters. The end of this one kind of broke me. It broke my heart. It was tragic. I was very sad. Like, I actually teared up and started, like, to cry. So, yeah. This one follows a trio of main characters. There's Hadassah, there's Marcus, and there's Atreides. I believe that's how you say his name. Sometimes you follow Marcus's sister, I think. But, she's kind of like, whatever character. You know what? There's a trio. Just ignore her. Ignore Julia. She's not here. We really wish she wasn't, right? Anyone who's read this book can understand. We really wish Julia wasn't here, right? Yeah. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. Julia doesn't exist. We're not going to talk about her. Prompt number 9 is 12 Days of Christmas, a book with 12 letters in the title. And for this one, I chose Laurel's Dream by Pepper Basham. I have heard Katie from Paperbacks and Ponytails talk about this book, and I actually had messaged her probably back in March. And asked her what book she would recommend that I read, and this was one that she recommended, and I automatically purchased it from Amazon as soon as she said that. I have not read it yet, but I really want to. It seems like it's pretty short, and she recommended it, so I have faith in her recommendation. But yeah, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 in the title, not counting the author's name. Yeah. We don't need to look at that. Like I said, I haven't read it, so I don't really know what it's about yet, but we'll get there eventually. Prompt number 10 is In the Bleak Midwinter, a book set in wintertime or snow. And for this one, I chose Between Shades of Grey by Ruta Sepetys. Ruta Sepetys is an author that I discovered this year and has been one of my most liked authors of the year. I've loved almost every single book that I've read of hers. So this book takes place in Lithuania and follows Lena. And basically she ends up thrown into a cattle car that is on its way to Siberia. And she ends up in this concentration camp situation. And it's just following her life and her life story and Lithuania's history. So the author, Ruta Sepetys, is from Lithuania. And so she's done a lot of research into the actual history of events that happened. And so she based that off of her real heritage, which is really cool. Really sad that this happened, but it's still a really good telling of it. But as you can see, yeah, Siberia, it's kind of cold there. Just a little bit, yeah. Prompt 11 is Blue Christmas, an all blue cover. For this one, I chose The Indigo Girl by Natasha Boyd. As you can see, the cover is mostly blue. Isn't it? Indigo is a form of blue, right? Yeah? I mean, that's blue, right? It's not purple, it's blue, right? Either way, I'm calling indigo blue. I don't know if some people see it as more of a purple shade. You're wrong. So basically the plantation is failing and her father is traveling trying to get more funds to save their land and like their plantation and stuff. And then hearing how much the French pay for indigo dye, Eliza believes that will be their salvation. But thwarted at every turn, even by her family, Eliza strikes her only allies in an aging horticulturist, a lawyer, and a slave with whom she strikes a dangerous deal. So yeah, it's very interesting. I listened to the audiobook version of this. It's one of those books where I feel like if I had been reading it on the page, it might have come across as a little bit dull in areas, but it's got enough action in the audiobook to keep me very interested. So while I was doing other things, I would be listening to this audiobook, and it worked for me. It was good. I really enjoyed it. So yes, The Indigo Girl by Natasha Boyd. Prompt number 12 is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, a book that deals with bullying. I have a doozy for this one. Yeah. For this prompt, I chose Lord of the Flies by William Golding. If you have not read this book, if you have not watched either of the movie adaptations, you're not really missing out. It's really tragic. It's really sad. During a world war, a plane crashes near an island and strands a bunch of boys on this island by themselves, like school-age boys. No adults, no girls, and let me tell you right now, all HE double hockey sticks breaks out. It's awful. It's tragic. And they definitely bully my favorite freaking character, and I'm so upset about it. I'm still emotionally traumatized by this book. If you haven't read it, it's an interesting study on humanity and what we naturally revert to if we don't have any higher moral compass guiding us. Food for thought. Prompt number 13 is Hark the Herald Angels Sing, a portrayal of the spiritual realm. For this one, I chose The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. It has been some years since I read it last, but it is so, so good. Again, C.S. Lewis is mind-blowing with his knowledge and understanding of the spiritual realm and spiritual things. And this book is very easy to digest, even if you're not familiar with C.S. Lewis's writing and his really like flowery old words. It's still very palatable and very easy to digest. I read it when I was like 14. So basically, the Screwtape Letters is a series of letters that is written back and forth between the devil and one of his demons. And they are targeting this man, trying to get him to fail. And it's just really interesting. It sounds really scary, but it's very subtle. The obstacles that are placed in the man's way that, you know, the devil figure and the demon figure are throwing in his path, they're very simple everyday things that can throw us off course of what God wants us to be doing and where he wants us to be going. So it was very, very thought-provoking, very interesting. I still remember it to this day, even though I read it like 8 years ago. And I would definitely recommend reading it. Just very eye-opening and kind of like makes you think more about just the little tiny everyday things that you come across that can make you stumble in your walk with God. Prompt number 14 is It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year, a story that manipulates time in some way. And for this one, I chose Wistress by Nadine Brandes. This is the only book that I could think of that manipulates time. There's a character in this that can stop time. Everyone that I've heard talk about this book calls him Bastion, but I swear his name is Bastian, y'all. I said Bastian in my head, and I'm saying Bastian. I don't even care if the author said it's different. In my head, it's Bastian, okay? So anyway, Bastian can manipulate time and freeze time and stuff like that. So yeah, that's the only book I could think of with that element in it that I've read, because I don't read a lot of sci-fi, and I feel like time manipulation is something that happens in a lot of sci-fi. Also, I'm literally just thinking of this on the spot. Technically, Fourth Wing. Wouldn't necessarily recommend that book, but I read it recently, and one of the dragons has the ability to freeze time momentarily, but she's a baby, so it's like not a very well developed gift that she has yet. Wistress and Fourth Wing, and those two books will probably never be mentioned in the same video ever again. So the last prompt for this video, prompt 15, is Carol of the Bells, which is a plot where music is a key element. So for this prompt, I chose one of my favorite books, which is The Magician's Nephew by C.S. Lewis. There is an absolutely beautiful scene in here with music, and it's basically where Diggory and Polly, the two children main characters in this story, are in Narnia, and there's nothing there, and they get to see Aslan sing everything into existence. And ever since I've seen that portrayal of creation, I've not been able to get it out of my head. Like, Aslan sings about flowers and they appear, and he sings this like language about trees and the trees appear. It's been a scene that has always stuck with me. It happens here. It's like where everything's dark and they're all standing there in this world that is like a baby world. It hasn't even been created yet, and they're all standing there. And then this lion, this great golden lion, starts walking through and he's singing, and it's like this language they don't necessarily understand what he's saying, but as he's singing, it's like grass appears, and as he's singing, the sky appears, and it's honestly like it gives me chills. I think this is a fantastic book to end this video on. The Magician's Nephew, which is the first book in the Chronicles of Narnia series. So beautiful. So beautiful. So yeah, that is the final prompt for this video. Thank y'all so much for watching today. It has been a fun time. It took me forever to figure out the setup for this video, but it's great. I think it turned out really good, and I really am satisfied with the books that I chose for these prompts. And that very rarely happens, so I'm very happy about this. Thank you so much again, Holly, from Lovely Day with Holly, for creating this video, and thank you so much again to Rachel from Rachel Reads for tagging me in this video and thinking to do that. It was very sweet of you. Consider yourself tagged if you want to do this tag and you haven't done it yet. Tag you're it. That is all for me today, guys. I hope you have an amazing rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, or whatever other time of day it is for you, and I'll see you next time. Now I've got to take a thumbnail picture with all these books, and I'm kind of stressed about it. I'm sure it'll be great.